special edition on corporate fitness and productivity. Today, we've been very fortunate to get three excellent guests with us. Mallory, thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Shaz, wave, and yeah, that's Shaz. And of course, Louis, thank you for joining us as well. And today, we're going to be talking about two interesting convergence, really. For me, one is the problem of productivity in the COVID-19 era. And the problem for me is everything needs to be delivered via Zoom, via Skype, or via Microsoft Teams. Whatever. Did I forget anybody?
WebEx.
Sorry, which one?
WebEx.
WebEx, yes. So we've all heard these things. We all come to love and also to loathe getting online sometimes. But really, the question is, it's a problem of productivity. Now, for me, it's one thing to be productive. And yesterday, I think, I was having a chat with Mallory earlier about how many meetings I was on yesterday and what kind of, yes, I was really busy, but I didn't actually have any time to do a lot of the things I needed to do to be productive. And for me, some of the problems around productivity are becoming more and more apparent as companies and individuals start to realize that there's a lot more to productivity than having a lot of meetings. So with that, I want to allow everyone just to quickly introduce yourself. We'll start with Shaz because she's smiling the most. We'll just give us a quick introduction of yourself and we'll let people know who you are.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Shaz. I am basically in charge of FitWorks virtual arm called Ignite Fitness Lifestyle. So you can find us on Instagram and also Facebook. Basically, we Ignite Fitness Lifestyle is a high-definition virtual live stream platform where we run virtual fitness classes and also on-demand. We have on-demand content as well. So basically, we are what we want to call this new virtual lifestyle platform that people can hop onto and basically get things going virtually. So that's me.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Shaz. Mallory, over to you.
Hi everyone, so I'm Mallory. I'm the co-founder of Work Inspire. So we are a people engagement and development company. So in simple terms, we work with companies on their leadership and cultural transformation, their learning and engagement programs, their high potential, as well as of recent topics, a lot of what we call bite-sized learnings. So short but effective conversations to ensure that, like today's topic, right, productivity and well-being is taken care of, especially for the employees in these tough times. So yes, you can check us out on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and most all social media. TikTok also, I think.
Lovely. Over to you, Louis, as we call you the guy with all the biceps.
Thanks, Norton. So my name is Louis Joubert. I'm the Managing Director for FitWorks Fitness Centers. We run commercial fitness centers, own and operate. We also set up and manage corporate fitness centers for our corporate clients, which is typically multinational companies, local conglomerates, local private universities, etc. And now we've also, as Shaz has already explained to you, we've started our online live virtual platform, which also has some on-demand content, and is really getting popular with the corporations out there, getting their staff onto the virtual platform, as we cannot go to physical gyms at the moment. Thanks, Norton.
Okay, nice. Thanks for everyone. And we've already got some questions coming in, which is really good. And I think there's a link between if I could summarize some of the questions, is that quarantine at home, mental health, and productivity. Louis, from your perspective, and I know you do a lot of research around this topic. From your research, from your experience, what are corporations faced with at the moment in terms of getting their staff? And some have 10 staff, some have hundreds and thousands of staff. In terms of getting them firstly motivated, two, staying healthy, and really becoming productive?
Yeah, it's a major challenge. I mean, I think I face it, you guys face it, everybody on this forum today will face it. We all feel, I'm sure 98% of people on this forum today will agree that working from home has got a different level of tiredness to it. When we're in the office, there's a certain energy and a certain buzz. There's a certain expectation and a certain motivation. But being at home, yes, like you said earlier, we can be on meetings, but are we really productive? And we seem, this virtual landscape seems to make us feel a bit more exhausted as well. So really, to get people motivated to work and to get up in the morning, for me is simple. Thank God I found that working out in the morning really charges the batteries and really gets us going, and that does it for me. But I suppose it works differently for others. But just with the physical aspect of it, it really has a very positive effect on your mental well-being, on your physical well-being, on your energy that you have to carry you throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Louis. Now, Mallory, I want to bring you into the discussion here. You do a lot of work with CEOs. You do a lot of work with the C-suites, as well as a lot of the younger people coming into the corporate world. What are you seeing that corporations may or may not be getting right here?
Okay, I think let's start what's right, okay? So speaking about what's doing right, is that at this point, comparatively to maybe last two MCOs ago, or last MCO ago for that matter, the topic of well-being, productivity, and mental health is more transparent. In other words, people are more willing to listen about it. There are many sessions that people encourage counseling or mentorship or coaching in order for them to help cope with their employees' burnout rate, call it burnout rate, okay? However, at this point, a lot of times companies want to address the issue when it's a bit too late. I'll give you an example. We had a client that came to us and said that recently there's a spike with their exit interviews. So ironically, right, the pandemic where unemployment rates are the highest, but there are a lot of people who are actually resigning. And so there's this sudden alarm, like, okay, something's wrong somewhere. So after they checked out, they talked to a few people, and also surprisingly, quite a number of them are the mid-level or younger generation. And when they asked them what's the reason for them resigning, they said they cite mental health and burnout as one of the key reasons. So out of 10, maybe 6 of them were actually citing burnout and mental health, and they're very honest about it. There's not even any shame about it when they speak about it. So hence why by the time they actually want to address this, you're already at the exit interview. It's a bit late. So hence why, if you ask me, my opinion, that these are issues that you can see, physically see it, as well as virtually see or sense it, that is coming up. But because you are afraid to, tackle it heads on or just talk about a white elephant in the room, you decide to wait till later, and by the time later comes, it's a bit too late. So that's my thought about this.
Okay, cool. No, I think this mental health and one thing that I've done with my team, which is try to make Monday as fun as possible, and come up with some things for Monday. Like, okay, if we can get through Monday, we can get through Tuesday, we can get through, and then, okay, don't worry, we're almost at Friday. And the other thing is, I know it's very difficult that we've got to stop bothering people on the weekend, or after hours, but it's difficult. It's difficult, I know, when it comes to that problem of, oh, this thing just needs to be done now. Now, Shaz, there were some questions around actual exercise. What kind of exercise can you do from home? I mean, for me now, I've been enjoying the Olympics and watching the Olympics, and I'm going to ask Louis how he feels about some of the performances from South Africa later. But what are some of the simple things that we can get right?
When we talk about exercising at home, I think the first thing that I also do see questions here: how do you stay active while working from home, and which exercise that you think can be done in a quick time and burn the fats. So the extra exercise that, first of all, you need to set your time to exercise. In your day, you have a very busy schedule. Pick a time period where you can set aside to exercise. what kind of exercises that you can do. Simplest would be skipping. Now it's the in thing. Everyone's skipping using a jump rope. If not, they will be doing some kind of high intensity interval workout, HIIT workouts. For those who are not into that kind of workouts, they can do a short dance cardio, like Zumba. Yeah, so Zumba or any dance fitness that you can find online. Ignite, of course, has classes to cater for working people who are working from home, and also those who have the time to work out from home. So we have 30-minute classes as well, in early in the mornings to start off your day, and also in the evenings when you are just about to wind down. We have HIIT exercises, we have yoga, we have dance fitness. So basically, what your body is calling out for, I think you do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been watching the Olympics, Shaz?
Yes.
Okay, who is your favorite? I noticed my wife was like, okay, let's watch the men's diving. There's a lot of like handsome gentlemen there, but what's your favorite? Natalie's agreeing. What's your favorite sport in the Olympics this year?
I think we've been following the badminton match. So I mean, we've been rooting for the home team. So yeah.
Exactly. That was
Yeah.
He handed an excellent victory to Malaysia last night, and
Yes, correct.
I love watching games that are close, but I also love watching games that aren't close when it's your team. So that was one of those things last night. Louis, how's the Olympics for you? I mean, the sevens rugby. I know our friends from Cobra also joining in, and people like Sean and the gang will definitely would like to give you some stick on the performance of your team. How did you see the team do this year?
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but I must say, South Africa is the third world country, and we understand how difficult things can be. So when a team like Argentina does well, and when a team like Fiji does well, that sort of makes my day. If my team is out, I root for these kind of teams. Australia, New Zealand, England, they always sort of do well at something. So when a team like Fiji comes and wins the gold medal for rugby sevens, I couldn't be happier. I could be a little bit happier if South Africa won, but if Fiji or Argentina wins, I'm happy as well. It really shows that from an island nation of less than 1 million people, they can take the number one place in the world in a competition. That's just amazing.
Exactly, and I saw the tears in the eyes of the Fijians, when they won the gold last night, and it was a really amazing to see that. Of course, they beat all the big teams. They beat Australia. They beat everybody along the way, and also Argentina. And I think these are the stories that really inspire. And for me, the first thing I want to do when I see something, I say, okay, I've got to get fit. I've got to get healthy again. I've got to I can do that. I mean, I dare say I'm in my 40s, and it's something that you want to aspire to, even though when you see this. But with that in mind, do corporations, do individuals realize that these inspirational stories, it doesn't matter that you're from a big company or a small company? And there was one question about how can small enterprises do this? What are the type of costs that we're talking about? Because companies always talk about cost. Okay, how much, the boss will say, how much is it going to cost me? For me, it's like, okay, what is the benefit? Are we selling the benefit enough here? What do you think, Louis?
Yeah, well, let me just take maybe even one step back. If you want your employees to be productive, and you want to bring the fitness side into it, it really has to come from the top. The initiative has to come from the top management, and the top management has to believe in it. If it's just going to be something you're going to throw on the table and hope it's going to work, it won't work. If the management really believes that fitness, or let's say wellness, of which fitness is a component, food is a component, there's many components to it, but let's focus on the fitness side. If fitness is going to be a part of this, the management has to believe it, number one. Secondly, the management must allow for it. Now, why do I say allow for it? Allow for it means give your staff some time off for them to do this during work time even. If you're going to allow your staff to do a workout during work time twice a week or 3 times a week for 30 minutes, why would they not do it? This is at a time they're getting paid and they're getting time off to do this thing. They're much rather going to do it during work time compared to during their personal time. Then I would suggest you start with a pilot group. Don't put everybody in the company, don't force them to jump onto the program. If you are starting out with this, start with a smaller group, open it up to your company's employees and ask them who would like to be on this first group, on the pilot group. Work with those that are interested in doing it, those that really want to lose the weight, or those that are already sort of in a routine but willing to do it for the team. After that, you need to hold them accountable. There needs to be a competitive scoreboard. You need to hold them accountable. What are the objectives of this fitness program that we're going to run for the staff? And at the end, when the project is done, use the success stories as testimonials for the new group coming in. We did Asian bank, the number one bank. I'm not allowed to mention names online because we had a contract with them. The first group was only 20 people. We started off with 20 people of the obese population. And the results were so good that we ended up running 2 groups of 40 a month after that for 2 years. And it was really successful. People in their 40s coming to work with a walking stick. After 3 months, jogging daily. No more walking with walking stick, can jog on the treadmill, can jog outside. Those kind of testimonials inspires the rest of the staff to jump onto these programs. And that is when you get a more productive and healthier workforce.
Okay, cool. Melati, we'll get to your question in a short while. I'll get Louis to answer it in terms of the difference between the different workout styles and the flexibility. But Mallory, what's your favorite sport for this year's Olympics?
Oh my God, I've been catching and watching just most anything and everything. But I'm quite, ever since I picked up golf, I'm quite keen about it. Mainly because I don't see it in the Olympics very often. Not every country, not every round they host it well. So this round I'm quite intrigued and quite curious, looking at some of the top ones were actually dropping out because of COVID. And I'd like to bring out a key point, like yesterday, Simone Biles, that actually pulled out due to mental health. And a lot of people, I was just watching social media, that there are a lot of people that were condemning. On the other hand, there are a lot of people that were also supporting and saying that, it's real. On the other hand, some people say you let your country down, and many things in between. So what's the fine line of it? Which also brings back to, I think, some of the questions that were brought up, like what's the, in terms of how can you cope with your own individual? How do you know whether you reach that, breaking point, as well as how can companies really, or corporations, big or small, identify such important things? I think for some key issues to look out for, which also ties back to fitness, is that you notice with your body will react first. So basically, in summary, for me, burning out it comes from when your mind is reached a tiring point, it is screaming to you and say, Mallory, please, I need to rest. And because you can't hear your mind scream out loud, your body will say, okay, I heard you. And your body will take charge and start doing all kinds of things. Like you can sleep 8 hours a day and you still feel tired, you feel sickish, you feel lethargic, you feel nauseated. So anxiety, all kinds of things will come in your body because usually it comes back to the rate of burnout. So these are signs that you're actually reaching to a point that you need to rest, or either you need to listen to what your body needs. So working out is one component. On the other hand, it's also about what you eat and also about how much you sleep and what's your productive hour. Some people, it's like, for example, Louis' case, he talk about in the morning. Like for my case, I cannot work out in the morning. It doesn't really start my day well. I do not know why, but it makes me feel satisfied working about it in the evening. Where I feel like, okay, after a long day, my workout is like I ended my day well. That kind of mindset. So find what works for you. And I like what he said. And sometimes companies need to know, just because you're working from home doesn't mean you work 24 hours, 7 days a week. Yeah. Okay. Employees do deserve lunch hour. They still need dinner hour. They're not supposed to work through lunch or dinner. Like how you would in a normal working day. So if everyone can cooperate and keep to all this discipline, I'm pretty sure everybody can find time to even a 20 minutes to 30 minutes workout.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to ask you about sleep, but you did cover it. Because for me, sleep is a key component, and it's probably the first thing that goes. It's like, okay, well, I'll just sleep a little bit less. I've got to finish this report. I've got to get this thing done. I've got to get that thing done. And it's like, because for me, I set my alarm on my phone. Okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning this time, and it says, okay, it's in such and such many hours and minutes. I'm like, okay, that's enough. And then, after a while, you start to realize it's starting to get lesser and lesser. And I think that would be an interesting way to look at, when you get to sleep. Now, Louis, there was a question about Ignite, and I kind of want to know a little bit more about it as well. We've seen the benefits. For me, this is I'm wearing how can we see, my fencing T-shirt today, because I love, as well as the rugby, I've also taken up fencing with the Touche Fencing Club in PJ. There's such an amazing, for me, Wednesday night is when we go for fencing for adults, and it's like, okay, I'm going to get to Wednesday, I'm going to I'll be there at this time, I've got 2 hours of fencing, I'm going to be exhausted afterwards, but I'm going to feel great. What is the benefit of having set times for your workout? And also, what are the kind of other ideas around, okay, I can work out whatever I want? What's the difference here? Because that's, for me, the real problem.
Yeah, sure. What's the difference between Ignite and other online apps and free apps out there? There's some really good free apps out there. And some of the instructors on the apps are really superstars. The difference is we cater for the local market here. Ignite, as well as Fitworks, is a local product. We speak the local language with what we offer. We can serve up the local flavor. But more than that, you take Ignite as an example. We are HD live virtual classes. So it's according to a schedule. You have to pitch up for that schedule. So in a way, it helps you with your discipline. One of the biggest problems we have with workout is people don't have discipline. How many people have a fitness membership and don't actually go to the gym? Majority of gym members don't go to the gym. You have 30 to 40% of gym membership holders that actually go to the gym. How much more an online program that's there today, that's there tomorrow, and there next week? If I don't do it today, it's okay. I'll just do it tomorrow. We know what happens tomorrow. Maybe I'll do it on Friday. Maybe I'll do it on Saturday when I have time. Okay, I'll start on Monday. We'll keep on procrastinating. Whereas if you have a live class, that's it. It starts at 9, and either you in or you miss out. So really, it has to do with the discipline.
Okay, cool. Now, Zuleika has asked us about social media and mental health. And Shaz, I'm going to give you this question. How can we? Maybe we just go and exercise instead of watching our Twitter feeds. What do you think?
I will agree with you because yes, we do spend a lot of time on our gadgets, reading the news and also seeing what's floating by on our timelines and our stories. Basically, yes, it will affect your mental health if you allow it to affect your mental health. My take on it is, if it's something that you can control or that you can contribute to, then maybe you can take action on it. But in terms of the news that floats by, just let it float by. You can use your time and your energy and channel it to something more productive for you. Yeah, and just not let it get to you mentally, to be honest. Yeah, basically
Can I
channel the
jump
energy.
on
Yeah,
that as well?
good. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I really do like what Shaz mentioned, the point about just don't let it drain you because it's not worth it. But maybe what I can also share is look at every news as, is this something you can control or you can't control? So if it doesn't, if you can't control it, I'll give you example, the numbers. It's stressing people out that the numbers are going higher every day, is breaking records, either in terms of death or either in terms of cases, right? So instead of worrying about, oh, the numbers are going up and I'm stressing myself out thinking about it because I can't control it, just thank you for the knowledge and let it go by. But if let's say there are news that you can control, for example, vaccination, registering for vaccination and things of that sort. So those are things you can control, then yes, you can pay a bit more attention to it. But if it's not, then let it go. Because a lot of times we let things we can't control affect our mental health a lot more than we allow things that we can control.
Awesome, good idea. I like that approach. It's taking control. It's having agency in the ability to make your own decisions. To be worried about. Aisha's asked us a question: what can be done apart from working out? And this is really a question around exercise. So, Louis, another thing I wanted to ask you was, the good thing, and this is kind of the thing that I thought was really interesting. I remember there was a time when I put on a whole bunch of weight after university days, and I was a bit of a chunky monkey, as I would say that. I didn't want to go back to the gym. I didn't want to. I was like, I knew everyone was quote unquote fit and looked awesome there. What is it that our ability to work out online now gives us that kind of privacy? And what have you seen there? What has your research shown you over the last few months that, especially women, I feel, but also equally probably men, what is that equation for you guys?
Yeah, it's very true. People are shy to come into the gym. People believe I need to be in shape before I start working out, or I don't want to, especially if you're a bit older, I don't want to compete with the younger generation in their 20s, looking good in their leotards and do they still wear leotards, in their spandex and whatever else?
I don't know, probably.
So
it's been 2 years since we've been in the gym, so I can't tell you. Sorry, Louis.
No. So people are affected by this. We now on Ignite, we have a lady, she's 59. She's never worked out before in her life. And at the age of 59, she's starting. And she would not have started if she couldn't do it in the comfort of her home. So this definitely does make a difference. But we need to interact with these people and keep on encouraging them. The first thing they're going to feel after the first workout is pain. The next day, the delayed onset muscle soreness is going to set in, and they're going to feel that maybe they did something wrong. Maybe it's not for them because they feel pain. And we need to keep encouraging them through these phases of the workout. The first 1 month is purely a feel phase. You're going to feel good because your stress level is going to drop. You're going to feel good because you are more energized, but you're also going to feel pain. And people need to realize this is a part of the process. It's normal. The second stage after the first month is when you actually start looking better, where you start losing weight and when you start seeing the results. So we have to get people into that second phase for them to really consider making this a lifestyle. And that is tough. Now, just to come back to the question, what activities other than working out can people do to keep fit while at home? Okay. So working out is really perceived as getting your trainers on and doing something according to a routine. Yeah, that's what I would probably assume what Aisha means. So what about if you can do daily activities, but at a bit higher pace? Sweep, mop the floor, take out the trash on a jog. If you walk your dog, go walk your dog a little bit further every day. Whatever it is in your daily routine that's physical, can you add some vigor to it, or can you add some intensity to it? I would say as a start.
Thanks, Louis. I appreciate that concept where we start to build intensity and start. The other thing I like this idea of starting to compete with yourself. For me, I've been going for walks in the evening, and I would go for half an hour walk, and then I can just keep going. And I actually do, and a lot of people know now, when I call you in the evening, I'm on my walk, and I've just got the phone on speakerphone, and I'm doing a few of my internal meetings on my walk, and it's kind of been useful time. But Mallory, we've got to come back to this subject of productivity. We've got to start to understand the benefits around productivity and how are corporations getting the productivity equation. Put aside corporate fitness, put aside everything. How are corporations thinking about productivity in this day and age?
Okay, I think for starters, what has changed from the first lockdown to now, or when the pandemic started to now, is that the productivity measurement, I would say. Like those days, it's about clocking in, clocking out, what you can see you in office and things of that sort, right? However, there is a sense of deteriorating. So I'm going to tie productivity here to engagement. Effective engagement leads to increase of productivity. Okay, so that's the statement. Effective engagement leads to increase of productivity. Why do I say that? Because think about it, when your first lockdown happened, everything is new to everybody. Working from home is new. Everyone's juggling everything. So everyone's doing little things that matters. For example, checking in your team members, how are they doing? Doing 5-minute call to see what the level is. How's everybody managing? Do you understand how this virtual world works, and so on and so forth. But as time goes by, like most things in life, we tend to take it for granted that people already figure it out. The idea is that you should know by now, after a year and a half after the pandemic, you would be able to figure out how to sort yourself virtually. You should be able to manage your kids' schedule. You should be able to, handle different kinds of workload at different hours. So engagement kind of stops. Engagement here meaning checking in on your team members, doing 5 minutes call, ensuring that people understand. Things like that stop, which eventually leads to a decrease in productivity. So of recent times, we noticed that there's an increase or lack of communication. So because everybody is isolated, right? This remote working, don't actually see each other. So whenever management brainstorms something, it's not really passed on immediately. Same thing with when the managers hear it, by the time we tell the executives, it's another couple of months down the road. So everything is very disconnected. So when you're disconnected, what happens is micromanagers, people who are suddenly going, what's happening with this project? What's happening with that project? And they started calling in the middle of the night and checking at odd hours and then messaging and saying, what about this, what about that? So all these unnecessary things are causing the productivity to decrease. On top of all this, you also have unnecessary meetings and calls. Last time we tried to reduce it so that people don't get online fatigue, and then now it's back to as it was. Meetings instead of half an hour, it's back to an hour and a half. So all these things are back to is causing a decrease in productivity again. So in other words, people are just going back to how it was. When before the pandemic started, you losing track about what important, what matters. You forget that just because you're working online, you're working remotely at home, doesn't mean that you should give them 8 to 9 calls a day, because people need to do day-to-day work as well. And I think last but not least is to also understand what your people needs. Because yes, fitness is one thing, well-being is another thing, training is something else. But on the other hand, at this point, what do they need the most? If you can give what they need, productivity will be better, rather than thinking that this is what they need and you just force feed it down their throat.
Mm-hmm. No, that's an interesting concept. I know that, and I'm sure one of my team members know that the longer the meeting goes for, the more questions I'm going to ask, and the more questions I ask means the more work you're going to get. So they quickly worked out, okay, keep the meetings as short as possible. But I've also started to learn keep the meetings as short as possible, because it actually leads to them having more time to actually do the work that they need to do. And I think this is really tough, because you've got to come from a mental perspective. Okay, let it go. You just got to let that go and say, okay, go ahead, go and do your work. Now, Shaz, you're smiling, and whenever you smile too loudly on this call, you've got to answer questions. And one of the things that Shafira has asked a question around the facilities that the company gives us. Now, what happens now? Let's say someone takes up a fitness program, or someone takes up the opportunity. How do you make sure employees get the benefit out of this?
I think earlier in the session, Louis actually gave us a scenario where you start out with a smaller group first, and then you have that constant engagement with that group and make sure that they actually get the results. So in terms of engagement by the management, so to make sure that your employees are actually utilizing, you actually need to have active engagement from the management side as well to make sure that they are actually using the facilities that you are giving. Because there's no point if you give your employees something and then you just say, okay, go ahead and use it. They might not use it. So for example, with Ignite, if you are corporate, we can actually feedback, give you usage reports. We have your employees, when they check into class, they attend the class, we will actually check their attendance, and at the end of the month or at the end of the week, we'll give you a report to say so-and-so has been joining classes. So it's also engagement between the company as well as whichever fitness app or fitness vendor that you go with. But yeah, as management, you need to have that engagement with your employee to make sure that they are actually. Of course, on the management side, you should also be utilizing that facility that you are giving. No point you just handing it out to the employees and just say, here's the facility that a fitness program. You should join it. I think it's good for you. You should do it. So and then just let them go off and do it on their own. Makes no point.
Exactly. And you see, there's a bunch of CEOs out in the Malaysian corporate landscape who are like, super fit. They're on their bikes, they're on their gym, and then there's a bunch of CEOs who are not super fit, but they still take footage of themselves in the gym. You know who you are. We all know who you are, but I think it's a great example, of look, I'm also trying my best, even though I've got my problems. And I'll use this pun. Now everyone can go to the gym, so you'll know who I'm talking about. Now, Louis, I'm also heavily into crisis management. It's kind of my exciting thing that keeps me waking up early in the morning and excited to go to work. Now, how important is it from a crisis management perspective? Are there companies out there that have people who are not healthy enough to do their jobs? Then that actually turns into a crisis for the company that could actually mean that you've got to deal with a broader problem. And how can we look at this and solve this problem?
Yeah, definitely. One of our major clients in the past, unfortunately, one of their staff actually died at his workstation. This staff was morbidly obese and had all other pre-existing conditions that we so often hear about now during this pandemic. And it took that for the company to realize that they need to do something. And this is not a small company. This is the top tier company. And why does it take that long? Why can't we be a little bit more proactive when it comes to wellness, stress management, well-being, fitness, lifestyle, making this as part of a lifestyle? And again, like I say, it has to come from the top. The employees are not going to knock on the CEO's door and say, look, I think we need to change the way we do things around here. That's you're asking for trouble. It has to come from the top. And these kind of forums, I believe, is good to create this kind of awareness for HR managers out there and for CEOs out there to really think about it. What can we do, even if it's small? Like I always say, in the beginning, you only need to spend 1% of your time in fitness. And that 1% of your time is really 1.5 hours a week, which is 3 times 30-minute sessions. That's all you need to do. And if you can bring it into the work time, even better. Especially now that we are all working from home, people are in the comfort of their homes, they have time. If the boss gives them the time, schedules the meeting around the workout times, maybe more staff will participate.
I was just thinking, if you know your staff aren't going to be 100% productive throughout the entire time, give them something to do. Like, okay, here, 4:00 in the afternoon, do some exercise. At least you've done something. Now, the other thing I just want to, as a follow-up to what you were saying, Louis, insurance costs. Should insurance companies start to wake up to the fact that insurance should be cheaper for companies who have healthier workforces.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, insurance has changed quite a bit in the last 5 years or so. They used to take you for a medical and a blood test, etc. That they hardly do that anymore. They judge you on age and lifestyle and pre-existing conditions, of which fitness plays again a very big role. They ask you, do you drink? Do you smoke? How often do you do that? Do you exercise? How often do you do that? Do you have any pre-existing conditions like diabetes, or do you have a family history of cancer? And they start determining your premiums around the answers that you give them. So if you say, I don't smoke, I don't drink, or I moderately drink, I do work out, your premiums are going to come down. And how much more if you're a company, if you're a conglomerate that actually pays for your staff's medical bills? Isn't this the better way? You're going to get a healthier workforce, more productive workforce. Some of your other costs are going to come down. Your probably your bottom line and your top line is going to increase because your staff are working harder. They've got more energy. Isn't this better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Now, Mallory, the other day, I know you did a session on productivity and it involved nutrition as well. Are corporations, CEOs starting to get this kind of triangle of mental health, productivity, and well-being? Are they starting to get this together? And is there enough understanding that well-being is not just are you happy and smiling like Shaz, who always smiles? Of course, she's a highly, a very fit woman and has plenty going on in her life, so she's not stressed. I hope, obviously not. But what is going on in the mind of the CEO? Are they getting it right, do you think? And can we start to educate them better?
Okay. I think in terms of management and leadership side, good news is yes, most that I know of, at least, the companies are putting initiatives. They are trying their best, and they do understand. I wouldn't say the complete understanding of what well-being is. So far, the productivity and well-being is still tied a lot to around fitness, mental health. In terms of nutrition and all that, it's just starting to come in. But I think now that aside, lead by example is one thing, but we all know that let's talk about a big corporation, right? Management would say that, hey, as a company initiative, let's do something for employees' well-being. Now, whose job is it to go and find what constitute this employee well-being element? Most likely whoever the CEO assigns it to. Right. So if you actually look at the determining factor of who is the person that will influence the decision of where the company goes in terms of productivity or well-being, is actually the person who this project has been assigned to. And then whoever that is, could be the HR element, it could be a separate team altogether, it could be organization development team, whichever team that was assigned to, or transformation team. It's their job to go and execute based on what the CEO understands. And it's their job to also educate the CEO on what are some of the key elements, because at the end of the day, like CEOs, there are so many things to worry about. And one, I'm going to make sure that I can still pay salary, I can still make my shareholders happy, I still have to take care of the business transformation, I still have to make sure I'm innovative and staying relevant in the market. On top of that, you want me to think about how to make sure my employees are happy. If you have 5 people, sure, but if I have 2,500 people, it's almost impossible. So this is where, if you look at on the education element, it's not only the role of a CEO, it's not only the role of a leader, but it's also the role of the person that's been delegated the task. On top of that, it's also the role of every single manager in the organization, and that's the biggest chunk of the organization, the middle, the fat part of the whole entire pyramid, because it's the role of every single person. As a leader, if I've even a team of 10 under me, it's my job as a leader to take care of my 10. It's not the job of my CEO to make sure that my top take care of me for me to take care of my 10. It's my job as a leader. So if every manager, even if 50% of the managers in the workforce are already doing that, because this is not in their job scope, it's just a leadership skill. So if 50% are doing that as a part of the leadership skill, instead of saying that this is not part of my KPI, the workforce will already be a lot more productive, a lot more happy, and definitely a lot more engaged comparatively to waiting for CEO's mandate. But of course, if let's say the CEO says do this, everybody else will tend to do. But in Malaysia, we have this term called paksa rela. In other words, forced volunteering. So that's not exactly the best engagement either, but it works.
Yeah. It's highly engaging. We want you to volunteer so that at the end of the month you still get your paycheck. This is your motivation. So, but all jokes aside, Louis and Mallory has touched on something here that CEOs have started to delegate. CEOs have started to push this down the line. But one thing I know that CEOs like, and for me, I love getting a report that has lovely. Lately I've been really enjoying bar charts and line charts and the two together. This is like, I love looking at this kind of stuff, and my team have been working, presenting me with data in a way that I can consume it in a snapshot. And that's just my kind of personal preference in consuming data. But how is it possible to gather data using Ignite that then corporations can use to deliver the results that Mallory was talking about?
Well, we start off with, like Shaz mentioned earlier, we start off with taking attendance. There's even a difference between booking for the class and those actually that show up to the class. There's a percentage there that drop off even, like so many of us, the flesh is, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We want to, but maybe we'll do it the next day. So there's even a drop off rate there. But I think if you want to look at stats, there's going to be, first of all, that stat, who books and who actually jumps on. After they jump on, do they stay on? And what do they book for? And what do they actually, if I book for yoga, am I going to come for yoga? And how many times I'm going to come for yoga during the week? Or do I prefer dance classes? So in your organization, and it's also a little bit cultural, if I may touch on that. If you have a certain class of employees, they may enjoy yoga more. If you have a different class, they may enjoy Zumba more. You're going to have to be sensitive to this fact when you want to look at this, and you're going to have to provide according to those statistics.
Okay, cool. Now, Shaz, you've been getting away with not answering a lot of questions for at least 5 minutes, and but mental health and in our questions, this thing keeps popping up. Tell us about what you do to make sure you maintain your mental health, and what advice would you give individuals who have to work from home?
For me, I take sanity breaks. Basically, being sanity.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, if you're working from home, you're most likely online most of the time. So I would take about at least half an hour to an hour to just shut off, and then just go off and do something else. Maybe do hang out the laundry or something. Just total break from your normal work routine. I think sanity breaks are very important, because being online, it like Mallory mentioned earlier, you will get online fatigue, and it will really exhaust you. Like Louis also mentioned, that it's a different kind of tired when you're online, and working from home, it's a totally different kind of tired. So sanity breaks work for me. It's also kind of like my own mental health break, I would call it. I'll just step away from the computer for half an hour. I think naps are also good. It gives you that short time to recharge your batteries. Being at home, working from home, there's actually power naps actually do you a lot of good. So and these things actually will help you with your mental health.
I just want to add as well that Shaz actually Shaz actually does teach some of the classes on our schedule as well. So I'm sure that also helps, Shaz. Am I right?
Yeah, that's the physical fitness part of it.
Exactly. No, I mean, as the smiliest, happiest person on today's show, we really appreciate that. I've heard also of this idea of taking naps and getting that right, as also as a just general health. I don't want to ask how long your naps go for, but I'm sure it's not 2-3 hour naps we're talking about here, right? Good answer. Good answer. Good. But Mallory, you're also, a lot of people ask you about mental health. A lot of people ask you how you manage. You speak on a lot of forums. You speak on a lot of shows as well. What are your tips around mental health? And there was a question here about policy. How do you get from, look, here's some really good tips on mental health, but how do we get to companies getting the policy right? Or do we not need to bother with policy? What are your thoughts?
Okay. I think I won't touch much about the individual because Shaz kind of covered a lot of it as well. I think one thing that maybe a cause, I think likelihood is cause, is the environment that you're in. So, for example, if you are living alone and you've been stuck at home alone for the longest time, so the lack of social actually and the lack of interaction actually cause the mental health. Similarly, if you're at home with a big family, all the noise and without a getaway, you don't have your me time, that is also another reason why, especially those with younger children, you are basically a parent juggling 20,000 hats at the same time. So those actually, all these are the causes of what would trigger your mental health element. So like what she has sanity break. I seriously heard other break, but yes, so sanity break. For me, even I've had a lot of parents who actually ask me this, like if I have a kid, how can I do it? I'm not a parent, so I can't actually explain much but from parent perspective. But what a lot of my companies and participants who are parents and with young children actually tried is that they have their me time is actually in the washroom. Okay, and specifically on number two. Okay, so or you're sitting on your throne, whatever you want to call it. Why? Because apparently younger kids tend to run away when you tell them that mommy or daddy has to go take a number two. A lot of their younger children actually just pinch their nose and walk away. If you tell them that mommy and daddy is going to take a shower, the kids, especially with the mothers, they tend to sit outside the toilet and keep talking and talking to their mom while the mom showers. So for those of you younger kids, maybe this could be an option for you to try. Now, in terms of company policy-wise, right, I do completely agree that a policy needs to be in place in order for you to create such experience. Because, like, take for example, people being people, we don't do unless we have to do it. If let's say wearing mask is an option, okay, and it's not a compulsory or you won't get fined, how many Malaysians will still walk around wearing mask? It's a question I'll ask. Or how many people will walk around, wearing mask is an option. So it's a different thinking altogether. So similarly in the companies, you have maybe 30% of the people that are very supportive of this initiative and they're very keen about it. You have 50% who are maybe on the fence, or either the rebellious, meaning they are the ones that are causing problems and trying to influence everybody not to do such things. So on the employer perspective, a policy would definitely need to be in place. And I think the best way for you to implement policies is to actually have focus groups to understand what your consumer wants. I'm pretty sure like Ignite, when they started, how they've evolved from the first MCO to now is because they understand what their customers want. Same thing like in every business. So if you can plan your business goals based on what your customer wants, you can also plan your policy based on what your employees want and need. So when you can get that out, you can set policies in place.
I like that kind of same thought process. If you can plan what your customers want, you can also plan what your employees want. And I think that's an excellent insight. Now, Louis, you and I are both fathers. You and I are both coaches. So I think we should pick up this idea of, for me, with my youngest son, he's got way more energy than me. So I find the only way to deal with him is to go on the offensive. I've got to, take him for rugby, take him for fencing, take him for this, do exercise and activities with him. As a parent, as a coach, as a fitness expert, how do you engage with that family component and still remain sane during this entire process?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Like you, I try and keep my kids busy with physical activities. I have the benefit of having some garden space outside, and just outside my garden space is a futsal court. So it's easy to get them out I think everybody that if you have a space outside, get them outdoors as much as you can. It's very good for their not only mental well-being but physical well-being as well. And don't be too worried if they get dirty. The little bit of germs that they pick up from the dirt will actually strengthen their immune system. Don't worry if your kids get too dirty. Don't try and keep them so sanitized and clean all the time. There's definitely a necessity for them to sometimes touch a cat or touch those that can touch a dog, play outside in the mud a little bit, walk outside on the grass barefoot. These things are good for them, and it helps us if we get out with them as well. There's something therapeutic about getting out into open space compared to just sitting in the house, boxed up, and not being able to move. I think that adds to the stress and the pressure. So I really try and, obviously with my kids, they're part of the Ignite program as well with the Cobra rugby team. So they have to stay fit to be able to coach on Ignite. But the younger ones, we just try and get them out as much as possible. Go kick the ball outside, or just ride on your bicycle in the driveway. Just do whatever you can outside as much as you can.
Nice. So we're almost coming to the end of our hour. It's been so fast, that we've got through this session. Shaz, in closing, what advice do you have for individuals who want to remain productive and also want to get fit at the same time?
My advice would be start. Basically, start somewhere. Put some time aside in your busy schedule to dedicate that time to physical exercise. Maybe through free online content, or through Ignite, or through if you know any instructors or studios that are running online classes, you can set aside that time and do it. But basically, my advice would be set that time and start. Not to procrastinate any longer, because being cooped up at home does affect you mentally, physically, and emotionally. So fitness will definitely help in combating all these problems that you might have, problems that you can't see, basically. So my strongest advice would be set a time and start.
Lovely. Mallory, we're going to go to you next. What is your advice for people who are stuck at home, want to get productive and want to get moving?
I think the final tip I can give you is create your own power hour. So if you are procrastinating, okay, so for example, procrastination is like the number one thing now when everyone's stuck at home. So power hour here, if you read Robin Sharma's book, is 1 hour each. But for starters, well, for me even, because I was at a burnout rate for a while, and for me to get back up, it was a bit longer. So what I started with is find an hour in a day, and I break it to 3 parts. So 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. 20 minutes of workout, 20 minutes of mind rejuvenating. So in other words, anything that makes my mind active, reading, watching, listening, whatever it is. And then 20 minutes to set reflection, goals, and gratitude for the day. So every morning, I just started with 1 hour, 20 minutes of these. And I started realizing there's a change in my body, there's a change in the way I think, there's a change in my mindset, my emotions. And then eventually when you get better, then you can spread it out to 1 hour each or 30 minutes each. But do it at your pace, at an hour that works best for you. So my neighbor has 3 young kids. She was talking to me about it. And just yesterday, I was telling her this. So today morning, I called her at 5 a.m. in the morning. She was doing this before her kids wake up. So find something that works for you in that hour.
Lovely. Okay, I'm gonna try the power hour right after this. After I go for a walk and lift some weights. Now, Louis, what I know, right? It's also this kind of I always notice people like get excited and there's a spike in activity, then it just kind of drops off. What is your advice to people who have like Shaz said, have got started? They've taken Mallory's advice in terms of, okay, let's kind of organize ourselves a little bit with this good start that we've got. How do we maintain this process, that we make it a lifestyle.
Yeah. Please realize when you're going to start anything new, it's going to be tough. You need to know this beforehand so that it doesn't catch you off guard when you start. Oh, this is much harder than I thought, and you give up. No, you need to know beforehand. Okay, I'm going to start working out. Working out is painful. I'm going to change my lifestyle. That's painful. I have to take an hour away from, or a half an hour away from something somewhere else where I used to maybe nap, or I used to just watch TV. That's also a lot of that going on these days. I need to take time away from possibly an enjoyable, something else that I enjoy that's maybe not so good for me, and I need to change it to something that I don't necessarily enjoy, and it's going to be difficult. Accept that it's going to be difficult. Start from the beginning, knowing that this change is going to take time and it's going to be difficult. Number one. Number two, plan your week, not just your day in advance. Plan your week in advance and say, okay, this week I'm starting off with twice a week. I'm going to do Tuesday morning. I'm going to do Thursday morning. Set your alarms, set your reminders on your phone so that you don't forget, especially if it's new. It is something that you can easily overlook. Write it down somewhere. Stick it on where you sit on the toilet, like Mallory said earlier. Stick it in front of you. These are my workout routines for this week. And make sure that you actually start, like Shaz says, put on your trainers, put on your kit, because that's the hardest part, is just getting ready for the workout. Once you get ready for it, you'll feel like a fool standing there in front of the mirror and just taking it all off again after you've done nothing. So be mentally prepared, accept that it's going to be tough, but trust me, after 3 weeks, it takes 3 weeks to create a habit. And really, it's strange that creating the time it takes to create a habit and at times the time it takes to start seeing results is not that different. 3 weeks to create a habit, 4 weeks to start seeing a result. By week number 5, you will see yourself looking different and you will be motivated to continue.
Brilliant. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us, and for everyone who tuned into today's show. Thank you very much for joining us on this Malaysia Global Business Forum edition of Corporate Fitness and Productivity. I want to thank Shaz, I want to thank Mallory, and of course Louis for all of your insights today. And we look forward to the next edition of what we're doing with corporate fitness and productivity. So thank you very much, and we'll see you again on the next edition of the Malaysia Global Business Forum.
Thanks, Norton. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Stay safe.